Chosen one, how many more mornings are you going to wake up and pretend everything's fine? How long will you keep telling yourself that the ache in your chest is just age, that the silence in your home is just life, that the prayers you've whispered for 30 years just aren't meant to be answered? What if I told you that the reason you clicked on this video right now, at this exact moment, wasn't an accident, but an interception from heaven itself? Listen to me. If you're over 50, over 60, over 70, and you've been carrying the weight of unanswered prayers, broken dreams, and a hope that's been gasping for air, Archangel Michael has been assigned to you. Not tomorrow, not someday. Today, right now. And if you treat this like just another video, if you scroll past this moment like it's background noise, you might walk right past the miracle that's been chasing you for decades. I need you to do something. Don't click away. Don't let distraction win again. Comment, "I'm still here right now," not as a formality, but as an act of defiance against every force that's tried to convince you it's too late. Your comment is your declaration. I refuse to miss this. Let's be honest. Your coffee's hot, but your hope has gone cold. Your hands shake when you pick up the cup, but your faith, it's been standing still for years. You wake up tired not just in your body, but in your soul. You look around at the life you're living and wonder, is this it? Did I miss my turn? The phone doesn't ring like it used to. The house feels bigger and emptier. And the prayers, God, the prayers, you've prayed the same words so many times, they've started to feel like echoes bouncing off heaven's walls with no one listening. But here's what you don't know. In heaven, there's a file with your name on it. Not a metaphor, not poetry. A real, sacred file that's been building for every year you've been alive. Every tear you cried at 3 a.m. when no one was watching documented. Every time you chose to believe when doubt screamed louder recorded. Every moment you whispered, "God, I'm still here," heaven wrote it down. And today, Archangel Michael is opening that file. Before this video ends, I'm going to tell you exactly what happens when that file opens and what can slam it shut again. Do not miss that part. Because this miracle isn't theoretical. It's not one day, or maybe if. It's already in motion. This message, this is the knock on your door. The question is, will you answer it? Or will you let it fade into the background like everything else you've ignored because you stopped believing you were worth a miracle? You're not too old, you're right on time, but you are on a deadline. And to every single soul who supported this message through super thanks, your generosity means more than you know. You're not just giving, you're helping spread light to others who feel forgotten in their faith. Whether you give or not, I'm deeply grateful. Your presence here, your time, your attention, it all matters. If this message resonates with your soul, go ahead and let heaven know you're listening. Now, let me show you what Michael sees when he opens your file. Why does your name still keep you up at night? Why, after all these years, does something inside you refuse to let go of the feeling that you were meant for more? And why? Tell me, why does the enemy work so hard to convince you that at your age, with your history, your name doesn't matter anymore? Because it does. And heaven knows it. Let me tell you about Margaret, 73 years old, sat in a one-bedroom apartment in Queens for the last 8 years. Husband gone. Kids scattered across 3 states, too busy to call. She'd wake up every morning, make her tea, stare out the window at the same brick wall, and whisper the same prayer. God, if you're still there, I don't know what I'm waiting for anymore. She thought her file was closed. She thought her name had been crossed off heaven's list decades ago when her marriage fell apart, when her daughter stopped speaking to her, when the church she loved asked her to step down from serving because of the divorce. But here's what Margaret didn't know. While she sat in that apartment convinced she was forgotten, Archangel Michael was standing in the throne room with her file in his hands. Not the old file, not the one stamped with her mistakes. A new one. A file marked active assignment, because Michael isn't sent for small things. When he moves, it's because something about your destiny is still alive. Something about your name is still under discussion. And that discussion, It's happening right now. You think the file is closed. Heaven says, case still open. I know what you're carrying. The divorce that split your family in half, the business that failed and took your savings with it, the calling you walked away from because fear was louder than faith, the years you wasted in bitterness, in addiction, in silence. You look at your life now and you think, I missed my chance, I blew it. God's moved on. But let me tell you something, with every ounce of authority I have, you think the file is closed. Heaven says, case still open. Do you hear me? Your regrets do not have the final word. Your age does not cancel your assignment. Your past does not determine your future. The enemy has been lying to you for years, whispering in your ear every single morning, too late, too broken, too invisible. But those are his labels, not God's. And today, right now, we're ripping those labels off. Because God has different labels for you. Chosen, preserved, still on assignment. You want to know why you're still breathing? Why you survived the heart attack, the depression, the loneliness that should have killed you by now? Because your name is still being called in heaven. And when God calls your name, hell has to shut its mouth. Look at the Bible. Look at Abraham, 75 years old, when God told him to pack up and leave everything he knew. 100 years old when he held his promised son. Look at Sarah, 90 years old, laughing at the impossibility. And God said, I'm going to make you a mother of nations. Look at Moses, 80 years old, stuttering, hiding in the desert, convinced his best years were behind him. And God said, now you're ready. Look at Anna, 84 years old, a widow who never stopped praying in the temple, and she was the one who got to hold the Messiah in her arms and prophesy over him. God does some of his best work in wrinkled hands. Your age doesn't disqualify you. Your age explains why this miracle is so late and so big, because what God is about to do in your life, you couldn't have handled at 30. You wouldn't have appreciated it at 40. You didn't have the depth for it at 50. But now you've been through enough hell to recognize heaven when it shows up. Now you've cried enough tears to water the seed he's about to plant. Now you've been broken enough to know that when this miracle comes, it's not you, it's him. But here's what you need to understand. There's a battle happening over your name right now. In the courtroom of heaven, your case is on the docket. The enemy is standing there trying to stamp your file closed. He's listing every failure, every mistake, every year you wasted. He's arguing that you're too old, too tired, too far gone. He wants that stamp to come down hard and final. But God is blocking the stamp. And Archangel Michael is standing there with his hand on his sword saying, not yet. This one's still mine. The question is, are you going to agree with the enemy's argument, or are you going to stand with heaven's defense? Because here's the truth. The enemy uses labels to kill your future before it starts. Too late, too broken, too stuck. He whispers those words until they feel like facts. But God's labels are the only ones that matter. And his labels say, chosen, preserved, still on assignment. You are not too late. You are not too broken. You are not too invisible. You are not too late. You are not too broken. You are not too invisible. Say it with me, out loud, right now. My case is still open in heaven. Type it in the comments. Let your fingers declare what your heart is afraid to believe, because when you speak it, something shifts. When you type it, heaven takes note. Your declaration is your agreement with God's verdict. Now listen carefully, because in the next part, I'm going to show you the one attitude that makes Archangel Michael step back and heaven go silent. It's the thing that slams your file shut faster than any sin, any failure, any mistake. And if you don't catch this, everything we just talked about won't matter. But if you do catch it, if you align yourself with what I'm about to tell you, the miracle that's already in motion will land in your life with a force that will make up for every lost year. So don't go anywhere, because what comes next changes everything. I want you to stop for a second. Just stop. Don't scroll. Don't look away. Because what I'm about to show you will crack open the very place you've been hiding from God. And when it cracks, that's where the miracle walks in. Think about the child you hurt with your words, the one whose face you can still see when you close your eyes at night. You didn't mean to break them, but you did, and you've carried that weight ever since. Or maybe it's the spouse you lost, not to death, but to silence, the one who stopped looking at you the way they used to, the one whose hand you stopped holding. You remember the exact moment it changed, don't you? You remember the night you almost gave up, the night you sat in the dark with a bottle, with a pill, with a thought that whispered, "What's the point?" And somehow, you're still here. I'm not here to shame you. I'm not here to make you feel worse about what you already carry like stones in your chest. I'm here to sit with you in it. I'm here to show you where God was when you thought He had abandoned you. Because here's the truth nobody's told you. He was standing in the wreckage with you. He was the reason you didn't go through with it. He was the voice that made you put the bottle down. He was the hand that steadied you when your own hands were shaking. Now, let me show you something that's going to change the way you see every painful memory you've been replaying. Regret is a door. The enemy uses that door to walk into your mind every single night. He opens it at 2 a.m., when the house is quiet and your thoughts are loud. He plays the same scenes over and over like a broken film reel. The argument, the mistake, the moment you failed, the choice you can't undo. He wants you stuck in that loop because as long as you're looking backward, you'll never see what's coming forward. But here's what the enemy doesn't want you to know. That same door, God uses it too. Regret is not just a weapon against you. It's a doorway back into grace. And right now, at this very moment, Archangel Michael is standing in that doorway. He's not condemning you. He's not shaking his head in disappointment. He's asking you one question. Which voice will you answer today? The one that keeps you chained to your past, or the one that's calling you into your future? Listen to me. You know exactly what I'm talking about. You've been stuck in what I call the regret loop. It's that thing your mind does when everyone else is asleep. You lie there in the dark, and you replay the same moments, the same failures, the same losses, over and over and over. And every time you replay it, it gets a little heavier, a little louder, a little more convincing that you don't deserve anything good anymore. But I need you to hear this. As long as you keep replaying what broke you, you will never notice what's trying to bless you. You're so busy staring at the door behind you that you can't see the door in front of you swinging wide open. The miracle that's coming your way isn't waiting for you to become perfect. It's not waiting for you to fix everything you broke. It's not even waiting for you to forgive yourself. It's already here. It's knocking. But you can't hear it because you're too busy listening to the echo of your regrets. Now, I want you to understand something about this miracle. It's not just about money, though money may come. It's not just about your health, though your body may be healed. This miracle is about something deeper. It's about peace, real peace. The kind that doesn't make sense given everything you've been through. It's about restored dignity. It's about divine timing that says, you didn't miss your chance. You're right on time. It's about God reaching into the darkest corner of your life and saying, I'm still here, and I'm not leaving without you. Psalm 34:18 says, the Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Not the perfect, not the polished, the broken, the crushed. That's you. That's who He's close to. Your worst memories are not proof that God left. They're proof that He carried you to this exact moment. Every tear, every sleepless night, every moment you wanted to quit but didn't. That wasn't luck. That wasn't coincidence. That was Michael's hand on your back, holding you upright when you couldn't stand on your own. So here's what I need you to do right now. Place your hand on your chest. Feel your heartbeat. That's not random. That's proof you're still in the fight. And I want you to say this out loud, even if your voice shakes. Lord, walk through the door of my regret and bring my miracle with you. Because in the next part, I'm going to show you exactly how this miracle shows up in your bank account. in your body, in your relationships, in ways you never expected. But you have to stay with me. Don't walk away now. You're too close. The door is open. Michael is standing there, and your miracle is waiting on the other side. But you have to choose which voice you're going to answer. So tell me, are you ready to step through? Let me ask you something that might sting a little. How many times has heaven knocked on your door and you turned up the TV? I'm serious. Think about it. That phone call you didn't answer because you weren't in the mood. That sermon that made your chest tight, but you shook it off by Sunday afternoon. That stranger who smiled at you in the grocery store and said something kind, something that felt like more than coincidence, but you brushed it off as small talk. That health scare last year that should have killed you, but didn't. You called it luck. Heaven called it mercy. And you went back to your routine. These weren't accidents. They were knocks. Divine interruptions. God trying to get your attention before the big door swings open. But you've been so busy surviving, so numb from decades of disappointment, that you've stopped recognizing the sound of heaven at your door. And here's the part that breaks my heart. The silent killer isn't anger. It's not rebellion. It's not even doubt. The silent killer is this quiet, exhausted, been there, done that indifference. It's the voice inside you that whispers, I've heard it all before. It's hope that's gone deaf. Your ears still work. Your eyes still work. But your hope? It stopped listening years ago. You see, when you're young, everything feels urgent. Every promise feels fresh. Every sermon feels like it was written just for you. But when you've been praying the same prayers for 30, 40, 50 years, something shifts. You start to protect yourself. You stop expecting. You tell yourself it's wisdom, maturity, being realistic. But God calls it something else, a hardened heart. And I'm not talking about the kind of hardness that comes from sin. I'm talking about the kind that comes from waiting too long. The kind that comes from standing at the altar, kneeling by your bed, sitting in that same pew, year after year, whispering the same desperate words into what feels like an empty sky, until one day you stop whispering altogether. Not because you stopped believing in God, but because you stopped believing He was still listening to you. Let me tell you what Archangel Michael sees when he looks at you right now. He sees a warrior, scarred, tired, but still standing, and he's been assigned to deliver something to you. Not someday, not when you're ready, today. But here's the problem. Michael can't force you to open the door. Angels don't break down doors, they knock. And then they wait. And I can almost hear him saying this, I can't make you receive what's coming. I can only warn you, ignoring this moment is ignoring what's already on its way. Now, I need you to understand something crucial. This isn't about watching a video. This isn't about clicking like or typing a comment. This is about recognizing that God is speaking to you today. And what you do with that matters. Because God isn't petty, He's patient. But even patience has windows. You know how a sale ends at midnight? You know how the bus leaves the station, whether you're on it or not. You know how a flight departs, and no amount of begging gets that plane to turn around once the gate closes. Prophetic windows work the same way. They open, they linger, and then they close. We are in one of those windows right now, and before this message ends, I'm going to show you exactly how to step through it. But first, you need to feel the weight of what it means to miss it. Let me take you to Luke 19:41-44. Jesus is standing outside Jerusalem, and he weeps. Not because the people rejected him with violence, but because they didn't recognize the time of their visitation. He says, "You did not know the time of your visitation." That word visitation, it means God showed up. He came close. He extended his hand. And they were too distracted, too numb, too familiar with religion to notice the moment. That's the danger. Not that God forgot you, but that you became too tired to answer. I've seen it happen. I've watched people spend their whole lives begging God for breakthrough, and then, when the door finally creaks open, they're too worn out to walk through it. They mistake the test for another delay. They confuse the invitation for another false alarm. And they sit back down, right on the threshold of their miracle, and say, "I'll believe it when I see it." But faith doesn't work that way. Faith opens the door before the package arrives. Faith says yes before the evidence shows up. And if you wait until you can see it, touch it, prove it, you've already missed it. Here's what I know about you. You didn't stumble onto this message by accident. You didn't click this video because YouTube's algorithm got lucky. Heaven orchestrated this moment. Archangel Michael has been circling your life, and this message is the knock you've been ignoring. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Because in the next part of this message, I'm going to show you exactly how to recognize the knock when it comes again. I'm going to give you the 3 signs that a miracle is at your door, and I'm going to show you how to open it before the window closes. But right now, if you know deep in your gut that you've been ignoring the knock, don't run from it. Type "I hear you, Lord," in the comments, not as a formula, as a surrender. And if you know someone over 50 who needs to hear this, share this video with them. Let heaven knock on their door too, because the miracle isn't coming someday, it's here. The only question left is, will you answer? Let me tell you something nobody else will say out loud. At your age, you've earned the right to feel what you feel. You've buried friends, you've buried dreams, maybe you've even buried a child. You've watched your body slow down, watched your savings drain, watched people walk away when you needed them most. And somewhere along the way, you learned that hope hurts worse than giving up. So you stopped hoping. You stopped believing people when they said things would get better. You stopped trusting that God even remembered your name. I'm not here to shame you for that. I'm here to tell you the truth nobody wants to hear. That bitterness you've been carrying like armor, it's the only thing standing between you and the miracle Archangel Michael is trying to deliver. You know exactly what I'm talking about. The parent who failed you. The one who was supposed to protect you and didn't. The one who chose the bottle over you, or silence over comfort, or cruelty over kindness. You're in your 70s now, and they've been dead 20 years, but the wound is still fresh. You still feel it when you're alone at night. You still hear their voice when you look in the mirror. Or maybe it's your children, the ones who don't call, the ones who moved 3 states away and only remember you exist on your birthday, if that. You raised them, sacrificed for them, gave them everything you had, and now they're too busy, too distracted, too far gone. And every time the phone doesn't ring, every time the holidays come and they make excuses, you feel it again, that stab, that betrayal, that slow-burning rage you've learned to swallow, because what else can you do? Or maybe it's the church. The place that was supposed to be your sanctuary became your battlefield, the pastor who judged you, the congregation that gossiped about your divorce, your struggles, your pain. They smiled on Sunday and stabbed you on Monday. And now when people talk about the family of God, all you feel is nausea. And here's the one nobody wants to admit. Maybe the bitterness isn't toward a person at all. Maybe it's toward God himself. Because where was he when your prayers went unanswered? Where was he when the diagnosis came? Where was he when you cried yourself to sleep for 10 years straight, begging for relief that never came? You didn't leave the faith, but you stopped expecting anything from it. You show up, you go through the motions, but deep down, you stopped believing God cares whether you make it or not. Let me give you a picture. Bitterness is like dirt on a camera lens. The miracle can be standing 3 feet in front of you, waving its arms, shouting your name, and you'll still say, "I don't see anything." Not because the miracle isn't there, but because the lens is filthy. And every year you refuse to wipe it clean, the dirt gets thicker, the image gets darker, until eventually you're living in a world where nothing looks like blessing anymore because you've trained yourself not to see it. Now, here's where Archangel Michael comes in. Michael doesn't just deliver messages, he's a warrior. His entire purpose is to fight battles in the spiritual realm that you can't see with human eyes. And right now, he's fighting for you. He's battling the forces that want to keep you trapped in that bitterness, chained to that unforgiveness, locked in that prison of resentment. But here's what most people don't understand. Michael can break the chains on the outside, but you have to unlock the door from the inside. Michael can't forgive people for you. He can't release the anger for you. He can't let go of the grudge for you. He can only stand beside you while you do it. And if you refuse, if you hold on to that bitterness like it's the last thing you own, then the miracle he's carrying will sit on your doorstep and rot. Not because God changed his mind, but because you wouldn't open the door. I know this is hard. I know you've been hurt in ways that words can't capture. I know the people who wounded you never apologized, never acknowledged what they did, never paid for the damage they caused. And I know it feels like letting go means they win. Like forgiveness is the same as saying, it didn't matter. But that's the lie. Forgiveness isn't about them, it's about you. It's about refusing to let their poison keep circulating through your veins for one more day. So, right now, I'm going to ask you to do something that might be the hardest thing you've done in years. I want you to whisper a name. Just one. The person, the place, the memory that's been holding you hostage. Don't type it if you're not ready. Just whisper it. Let it pass through your lips for the first time in a long time. And then, with me, say this. Lord, I'm tired of carrying this. I've been dragging this weight for too long, and it's killing me. I lay this person, this memory, this pain at your feet. I don't have the strength to carry it anymore. I choose blessing over bitterness. I choose freedom over fury. I choose your miracle over my anger. Help me, God. I can't do this alone. That's it. That's the release. It won't feel like fireworks. It might not even feel like relief at first, but something just shifted in the realm you can't see. Michael just moved closer. The file with your name on it just got lighter, and the miracle that's been circling your house, waiting for permission to land, just found the opening it needed. If you just prayed that prayer, if you just released even one name, type, I choose blessing, in the comments, not for me, for you. Because what's coming next is going to require clean hands and a clear heart. And you're about to find out why. Now let me tell you something that's going to shake everything you thought you knew about miracles. You've been waiting for the sky to crack open. You've been waiting for angels with trumpets. You've been waiting for your bank account to suddenly show 6 zeros you didn't deposit. And while you've been waiting for Hollywood, God has been showing up in your kitchen, and you've been too distracted to notice. Listen carefully. A miracle is not a magic trick. It's not a lottery win that falls out of heaven because you said the right prayer 3 times. For those of us who've lived long enough to bury dreams, to watch our bodies betray us, to sit in rooms that used to be full of laughter and now echo with silence, miracles show up differently. They show up in the mail. They show up in a phone call. They show up in the middle of the night when panic used to live, and now there's only peace. You want to know what Archangel Michael sees when he releases a miracle into your life? He sees 3 channels, 3 pathways, 3 doors that swing open the moment you stop ignoring the knock. And if you miss these, you'll spend the rest of your life convinced God forgot about you, when the truth is, you forgot how to recognize him. Channel 1, provision. Not abstract provision, real provision. I'm talking about the unexpected check that shows up the same week your water heater dies. I'm talking about the bill you were sure would bury you, and then the hospital calls and says there was an error, your balance is 0. I'm talking about the neighbor you barely know who knocks on your door with a bag of groceries and says, I felt like you needed this. You think that's coincidence? You think that's luck? That's Michael moving pieces on a board you can't see, making sure you don't go under. Some of you right now are one miracle away from financial breathing room, one divine interruption away from the anxiety that's been choking you for years finally letting go. But you've been so busy looking for the $1 million miracle that you've been ignoring the $100 ones. And here's what you don't understand. God tests your gratitude with the small before he trusts you with the large. If you can't say thank you for $20, why would he release 20,000? Channel 2. Protection. This is the one that'll make your skin prickle when you realize it. How many times have you almost fallen and didn't? How many times did you feel like you should take a different route, and later you found out there was an accident on the road you didn't take? How many nights did you wake up at 2 a.m. for no reason, check the stove, and realize you left the burner on? You call that luck. Heaven calls that assignment. Michael doesn't just deliver blessings. He deflects disasters you'll never even know were aimed at you. Some of you are alive right now because of miracles you never recognized. That medication that suddenly started working after months of nothing. That test result that came back clear when the doctor's face said otherwise. That moment your heart skipped and then kept beating when statistically it shouldn't have. You survived because you were covered. But if you keep ignoring the covering, if you keep shrugging off the near misses as random chance, you're going to miss the pattern. And the pattern is proof that you're not forgotten. Channel 3, Presence. This is the miracle nobody talks about, but it's the one that changes everything. It's not money, it's not healing. It's the sudden, unexplainable peace that floods your chest at 3 a.m. when you used to lie there drowning in fear. It's waking up and realizing you don't feel alone in the house anymore, even though no one else is there. It's the joy that rises up out of nowhere when you're folding laundry, and you haven't felt joy in years. You've been begging God to change your circumstances. But what if the miracle is that He's changing you in the middle of your circumstances? What if the breakthrough isn't that the pain goes away, but that you finally have the strength to carry it without breaking? What if the answered prayer isn't a new life, but a new heart that can finally live the life you have? Here's where most of you are losing the miracle. You're looking for the earthquake, and God is sending the whisper. You're waiting for the lottery, and He's sending the neighbor. You're begging for the mansion, and He's offering you peace in the apartment. And because it doesn't look like what you imagined, you call it nothing and keep waiting. Do not despise the small test miracles. They are proof the bigger one is already in motion. When manna fell in the wilderness, it didn't fall all at once. It fell daily. And the Israelites who gathered it with gratitude were fed. The ones who complained it wasn't enough, they starved in a field of provision. So let me ask you this, and I need you to answer honestly, even if it's just in your heart. In the last 7 days, what small mercy showed up that you didn't thank God for? What little provision did you shrug off? What narrow escape did you call coincidence? Because if you can't recognize the fingerprints of heaven in the small, you will absolutely miss them in the large. The miracle is already starting. The question is, are you paying attention? And in the next part, I'm going to show you the one daily habit that turns your entire home into a landing strip for miracles. Because recognition is step 1. But activation, that's where everything changes. We've walked through a lot together in this message. We've talked about your file in heaven, the one with your name on it that Archangel Michael is holding right now. We've walked through the regrets you've been carrying like stones in your pockets. We've talked about the knock on your door, the bitterness that's been blocking your channels, and the 5 pathways through which this miracle is trying to reach you. But here's where most people lose it. They hear all this truth, they feel the fire in their chest, and then they walk away and do absolutely nothing. They go back to the same routine, the same distractions, the same numbing patterns that have kept them spiritually asleep for decades. And the miracle? It stands at the door, knocking, waiting, and eventually it moves on. I refuse to let that happen to you. So let me tell you your one job today, your only job, so you don't ignore what heaven is doing right now in your life. Listen carefully. Your one job is not to fix everything. It's not to solve all your problems by sunset. It's not to become a different person overnight. Your one job is this: intentional opening. Every single morning, before you turn on the TV, before you scroll through your phone, before you let the news tell you how to feel about the world, you sit down in a quiet chair, you put your hand on your heart, and you say these words out loud. Lord, I'm listening. I won't ignore you today. That's it. 10 seconds. But those 10 seconds, they're the difference between a miracle landing in your life and a miracle passing you by. Because when you do that, you're not just praying, You're answering the door of your soul. You're telling Archangel Michael, I'm awake, I'm here, I'm ready, and heaven responds to readiness. The Bible says in Revelation 3:20, Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in. Not if anyone is perfect, not if anyone has it all together. If anyone opens the door, that's your part. Just open it. Now let me give you something practical you can hold on to. Every day, read one psalm. Just one. If you're tired, if your eyes aren't what they used to be, if your mind wanders, it doesn't matter. Pick one psalm and read it slowly. Read it out loud if you can. Let the words settle into your bones. And here's the secret older saints know that younger people don't. Repetition is not weakness. Repetition is depth. Read the same psalm for a whole week. Let it soak in. Let it become the soundtrack of your soul. Then, read one short gospel story. Maybe it's Jesus calming the storm. Maybe it's the woman at the well. Maybe it's the prodigal son coming home. Just one story. Let it remind you that Jesus specializes in impossible situations and forgotten people. Let it remind you that miracles don't happen to those who have it all figured out. They happen to those who are desperate enough to believe again. Now I want you to picture something with me. Think of an airplane runway. When a plane is about to land, that runway has to be clear. No debris, no distractions, no obstacles. Because if the runway is cluttered, the plane can't land safely. It has to circle, it has to wait, or it has to go somewhere else. Your life is that runway. And the miracle Archangel Michael is carrying, it's the plane. It's been circling for years, waiting for a clear place to land. And every morning you spend scrolling through fear, anger, gossip, and distraction. You're cluttering the runway. Every day you ignore God's voice first thing in the morning. You're putting debris on the landing strip. But when you open your day to God, when you clear the noise, sit in the stillness and say, Lord, I'm listening. You're clearing the runway. You're giving that miracle permission to land. Miracles don't land on chaos. They land on cleared runways. And your daily habit of intentional opening, that's you becoming the kind of person a miracle can land on. Here's what most people don't understand. You don't have to chase the miracle. You just have to open the door. You don't have to beg heaven. You just have to stop ignoring heaven. God is not withholding from you because you're not good enough. He's waiting for you to create space, to slow down, to breathe, to listen. Let me ask you something. What if the miracle you've been praying for your entire life has been standing outside your door every single morning, knocking quietly, and you've been too distracted, too busy, too numb to hear it? What if all it takes is 10 seconds of intentional stillness to let it in? Your part is simple. Your part is daily. You don't need a theology degree. You don't need to understand everything. You just need to show up every morning and say, I'm here. I'm listening. I won't ignore you today. So here's what I'm asking you to do right now. Go to the comments and type these 5 words. I will open my day to God. Let that be your vow. And if you have a phone, set a reminder right now. Label it. Don't ignore the miracle today. Let that alarm go off every morning at the same time and remind you that heaven is knocking and your only job is to open the door. Because in the final part of this message, I'm going to pray over you and your house like your living room is an altar. I'm going to call down the presence of Archangel Michael and ask him to stand guard over every door, every window, every corner of your life. But before we get there, I need to know you're ready. I need to know you're going to do your one job. So tell me, will you open the door tomorrow morning? Let's talk about your last name for a moment. Not the one you were born with or the one you married into. I'm talking about the weight that comes with it. The patterns that run through it, like cracks in old concrete. You know exactly what I'm talking about. The alcoholism that showed up in your father and then in your brother, and now you see it creeping into your son. The divorces that stack up like dominoes, your grandparents, your parents, you, and now your daughter's marriage is hanging by a thread. The poverty that grips every generation like a fist that refuses to open. The anger that gets passed down like a family heirloom nobody wanted but everybody inherited. You didn't just grow up in that chaos. You were born into a spiritual war zone. And here's what the enemy has been whispering to you your entire life. This is just how your family is. This is your DNA. This is your legacy. Accept it. But Archangel Michael is standing at the edge of your family tree right now with a sword drawn, and he's saying something completely different. He's saying, you were not born into this pattern to continue it. You were born to interrupt it. You are the bloodline breaker. Not because you're perfect. Not because you never made mistakes. God knows you've stumbled. God knows you've failed. But heaven looked at your family line and said, we need somebody in that generation who will finally say enough. We need somebody who will stand in the gap. We need somebody who will take the hit so the next generation doesn't have to. And they chose you. This miracle that's coming your way, it's not just about paying your electric bill. It's not just about your arthritis easing up or your loneliness lifting. Those things matter, yes, but this miracle is about rewriting the story your grandchildren will tell about God. It's about changing the conversation at Thanksgiving dinner 20 years from now when somebody says, you know, everything changed when Grandma started praying differently, when Grandpa finally let God in. Let me ask you something, and I want you to sit with this. What do you think your kids remember most about you? What do your grandkids see when they think of you? Be honest. You're scared they only remember the anger, aren't you? The times you lost your temper. The times you weren't there. The times you chose the bottle over the birthday party. The times you were physically present, but emotionally gone. You carry that guilt like a backpack full of stones. But what if I told you that the last chapter of your life could become the strongest memory they carry? What if the next 5 years, the next 10 years, become the part of the story they can't stop talking about? You should have seen my grandmother in her 70s. She became a warrior. She became unstoppable. She became the one who changed everything. That's what this miracle unlocks. The Bible says in Joel 2:25, I will restore to you the years that the locust hath eaten. Not just restore your years, restore the years, the ones you lost, the ones you wasted, the ones the enemy stole while you were asleep at the wheel. God doesn't just patch up your life and call it a day. He redeems the whole timeline. He goes backward and forward at the same time. He touches what was and what will be. You think you're too old to make a difference? Abraham was 75 when God called him to start over. Sarah was 90 when she gave birth to the promise. Moses was 80 when he walked up to Pharaoh and said, let my people go. Age is not a disqualifier in God's economy. Age is often the requirement, because it takes decades of pain to build the kind of faith that can carry a generational miracle. Right now, Archangel Michael is standing at your family tree. Picture it, roots that go deep into pain, branches that spread into dysfunction, and Michael has his sword raised over the branch you're sitting on, not to cut you off, to cut off everything that's been feeding poison into your lineage. Every curse, every cycle, every demonic assignment that's been riding your bloodline like a parasite. And when he swings that sword, everything changes. Your daughter who's been battling depression for 15 years, the light comes back into her eyes. Your grandson who's been running with the wrong crowd, he turns around. Your son who hasn't spoken to you in 5 years, the phone rings. Not because you begged, not because you manipulated, but because when heaven moves in your life, the shockwave doesn't stop with you, it ripples. This is why the pressure has been so intense. This is why the last few years have felt like hell was specifically targeting you. The enemy knows what's in your file. He knows what happens if you wake up. He knows that one fully surrendered 70-year-old believer is more dangerous than 1,000 lukewarm 20-somethings. because you've got nothing left to lose and everything to gain. You've seen enough of life to know what's real and what's garbage. And when you lock in with God, you become a wrecking ball to every demonic structure that's been feeding off your family for generations. So here's what I need you to do right now. Say it out loud. Even if you're alone, even if your voice shakes, say it. It breaks with me. Blessing begins with me. Say it again. Mean it this time. Now I want you to comment one word, just one. The name of someone in your family this miracle needs to touch. Your son, your daughter, your grandkids. Type it. Because when you release that name into the atmosphere through faith, you're giving Archangel Michael legal permission to move on their behalf. And in the next part, we're going to do something you've probably never done before. We're going to write a spiritual letter together, the one your grandchildren need to read, even if they never hold it in their hands, even if you never get to say the words out loud, because some things are too important to leave unsaid. Are you ready to become the turning point? Let me tell you something your generation was never taught to believe. Your pain has purpose. You were raised to keep it quiet, weren't you? Don't talk about feelings. Don't air your dirty laundry. Swallow the hurt. Bite your tongue. Keep moving. Your parents survived the depression by clenching their jaws and working through it. You survived Vietnam, divorce, loss, bankruptcy, the same way you put your head down and pushed forward. And I honor that. I honor the steel in your spine. I honor the fact that you're still here when so many others gave up. But here's what nobody told you. You survived, but you suffocated on the inside. You carried every betrayal, every heartbreak, every moment of shame like stones in your pockets, and you never set them down. You thought silence was strength. You thought keeping it together meant keeping it silent. And now you're 65, 70, 75 years old, sitting in a house full of memories and secrets, convinced that what you've been through doesn't matter to anyone anymore. That's a lie straight from hell. Listen to me closely. There is someone out there right now, someone whose name you don't know, whose face you've never seen, and they are standing on the edge. Not a metaphor, not dramatic language. They are literally deciding whether to keep going or to let go. And the one thing that could pull them back from that edge is a story you still haven't told. Picture this. Your testimony is a rope, a lifeline, and right now, Archangel Michael is standing behind you, nodding, protecting your voice, waiting for you to throw that rope off the bridge to the person below who's about to jump. Your story, the one you've been hiding because you thought it was too messy, too shameful, too ordinary, is the exact medicine someone else needs to survive tonight. You think you have nothing to say? You think your life is too broken to be a blessing? Every scar you carry, that's not disqualification, that's credibility. Every mistake you made, that's not a reason to stay silent. That's proof you understand what it's like to fall and get back up. Every prayer you whispered through tears when you thought God wasn't listening. Someone else is whispering that same prayer right now, and they need to know they're not alone. James 5:16 says, "Confess your faults one to another, and pray one for another, that ye may be healed." Not so you can feel embarrassed. So you can be healed, and so your confession can become someone else's cure. Now, I know what you're thinking. I don't have a pulpit. I'm not a preacher. I don't have a platform. You don't need one. You need a phone. You need a kitchen table. You need a conversation at the diner. You need the courage to type a comment online that says, "I've been there too." Here's how simple it is. 3 parts. That's it. First, this is where I was. You tell the truth about the pit, the addiction, the loneliness, the night you almost didn't make it. Don't sugarcoat it. The rawness is what gives it power. Second, this is what God did. You don't need to preach. Just tell what happened, how a stranger showed up at the right time, how a verse you'd read 100 times suddenly broke you open, how strength came from nowhere when you had nothing left. Third, this is where He's taking me now. You point forward. You show them that the story isn't over, that even at 70, even at 80, God is still writing chapters in your life. That's it. That's the formula. and it's enough to save a life. You know what happens in heaven when you choose to speak instead of staying silent. Angels stop what they're doing. The Father leans forward. Your words echo across eternity, and someone, maybe a grandson, maybe a stranger in another state, feels a shift in their spirit. They don't know why, but suddenly they have hope again. Suddenly they decide to hold on one more day. Your worst moments can become someone else's rescue. Not someday, not when you're ready. Now, today. Because Archangel Michael didn't open your file just so you could receive a miracle and keep it to yourself. He opened it so you could become the miracle for someone else. So, here's what I need you to do. Right now, in the comments, I want you to write one sentence. Just one. Fill in the blanks. I was, but God. I was broken, but God mended me. I was lost, but God found me. I was ready to quit, but God gave me a reason to stay. Your one sentence could be the thread someone grabs onto when everything else is unraveling. Don't underestimate it. Don't hold back. This is your moment to turn pain into purpose. And as you type those words, know this. Michael is watching. Heaven is recording. And the person who needed to hear your story, they're reading it right now. And their life is changing because you finally chose to speak. Now, let me show you what happens when that miracle multiplies. It's 2:47 inches the morning. You know the exact time because you've been staring at that clock for the past hour. The house is so quiet you can hear your own heartbeat. The bed feels enormous, like an ocean you're floating in alone. And your mind? Your mind is playing reruns. You never asked to see funerals you attended, conversations you can't undo, medical bills stacked on the kitchen table, the face of someone who used to sleep next to you, but doesn't anymore. You tell yourself it's just insomnia, just age, just anxiety. But what if I told you it's none of those things? What if the reason you keep waking up at these ungodly hours isn't random? It's an appointment you didn't know you scheduled. Listen to me carefully. The enemy wants you to believe those night hours are punishment. He wants you to lie there drowning in fear. Fear of the nursing home, fear of dying alone, fear that your body is breaking down faster than your savings can keep up. He wants you to replay every regret, every loss, every what if, until the weight of it crushes you before the sun even rises. And he's winning, isn't he? Because you've started to dread the night more than anything else in your life. But here's what hell doesn't want you to know. The darkest hours have always been God's favorite time to show up. Think about it. When did God deliver Peter from prison? Midnight. When did the angel visit Mary? Night. When did Jacob wrestle with God and receive his new name? In the dead of night. When did God speak to Samuel as a boy? The Bible is filled with midnight encounters, and yet we've been taught to see sleepless nights as curses instead of what they really are, invitations. What if you haven't been waking up randomly? What if you've been woken up? What if Archangel Michael has been standing at the foot of your bed, not to terrify you, but to guard you, to deliver something heaven has been trying to get into your hands for years? What if those 2 a.m. hours aren't torture, they're training? You see, the world is loud during the day. Your phone rings, the TV blares, people talk, distractions pile up like dirty dishes. But at night, at 3 a.m, when the whole world is asleep and you're the only one awake, that's when heaven has your full attention. No competition, no noise, just you and the God who never sleeps. So here's what I want you to do tonight. I want you to stop fighting it. Stop cursing the clock. Stop reaching for another sleeping pill, hoping to knock yourself out. Instead, I want you to sit up in that bed, plant your feet on the floor, and say one sentence out loud. Lord, I'm awake. If you're speaking, I'm listening. That's it. You don't need to pray for an hour. You don't need to see visions or hear audible voices. You don't need to turn into some mystic. Just be available. Just say, I'm here. I'm listening. Then, sit there for 60 seconds. Breathe. Let the silence settle. And if a thought comes a name, A memory, a word, a feeling, write it down. Keep a notebook and pen on your nightstand, starting tonight. Not because you're chasing spooky spiritual experiences, but because you're making yourself available for divine communication. I know what you're thinking. What if nothing happens? What if I'm just sitting there in the dark looking foolish? Let me tell you something. Faith has always looked foolish to those who refuse to see. Noah, building a boat with no rain in sight, looked foolish. Abraham leaving his home with no GPS looked foolish. Moses standing in front of the Red Sea with an army behind him looked foolish. But every single one of them heard God in the quiet, and every single one of them obeyed when the world called them crazy. You are not crazy. You are not losing your mind. You are being called into a deeper place, a secret place, a holy place that most people will never access because they're too distracted, too medicated, too afraid of the silence. But you've been given a gift. Those sleepless nights are not a curse, they are a classroom, and the teacher has been waiting for you to stop complaining long enough to hear the lesson. Here's the truth that's going to change everything. Your remaining years are not about winding down, they're about winding up. And these night hours, they're part of your training. In part 13, I'm going to show you the assignment hidden in your remaining years, the kingdom work only you can do, the legacy only you can leave, and you'll see why God needed to wake you up first before he could send you out. So, let me ask you this. Are you going to keep treating 2 a.m. like a prison sentence, or are you ready to treat it like the holy ground it's always been? Put that notebook by your bed tonight. Not tomorrow, tonight. Because Archangel Michael is coming, and when he knocks, you need to be ready to open the door. Let me ask you something that might shake you awake. What if the years you have left are actually the most strategic years of your entire life? I know what you've been telling yourself. You're too old. Your body doesn't move like it used to. Your knees ache when you stand. Your hands tremble when you hold a cup. You look in the mirror and see wrinkles, gray hair, and a face that tells the story of decades you can't get back. And somewhere deep inside, you've convinced yourself that the best parts of your story are behind you. That God used you once, maybe, but now you're just waiting. Waiting for doctor's appointments, waiting for phone calls that never come. Waiting, if we're brutally honest, to die. But what if that's the lie that's been stealing your final chapter? What if heaven looks at your age completely differently than you do? What if the trembling in your hands isn't weakness, it's the trembling of a vessel being prepared for sacred work? What if the slowness in your step isn't decline, it's the deliberate pace of someone who's finally learned to move with wisdom instead of rushing with foolishness? You see, the world measures value by speed, by productivity, by how much you can do in a day. But heaven measures value by obedience. And obedience doesn't require youth, it requires willingness. Proverbs 16:31 says, "Gray hair is a crown of glory. It is gained in a righteous life." Not a crown of retirement, not a crown of irrelevance, a crown of glory. That crown on your head right now, it's not decoration, it's a declaration that you've survived battles younger generations can't even imagine. You've outlasted betrayals, losses, financial collapses, heartbreaks, and disappointments that would have destroyed weaker souls. And the fact that you're still here, still breathing, still watching this video, that's not luck. That's assignment. Here's what Archangel Michael sees when he looks at you. He doesn't see someone waiting to die. He sees someone heaven has kept alive for a reason. You're not lingering. You're positioned. And there are 3 assignments written in your file right now, waiting for you to step into them. Assignment number 1, intercessor, the warrior who fights on their knees. You think your body is too weak to matter? Let me tell you something. Your prayers carry more weight now than they ever did when you were young. Why? Because you've lived long enough to know what's at stake. You've buried people you love. You've watched marriages fall apart. You've seen children walk away from faith. You know the cost of prayerlessness. And when you pray now, you pray with authority earned through suffering. 1 Timothy 2:1 says, I urge that supplications, prayers, intercessions, and thanksgivings be made for all people. That's not a suggestion, that's a command. And you, with your aching knees and your trembling voice, are perfectly positioned to obey it. Pray for your children by name. Pray for leaders who've lost their way. Pray for this nation that's drowning in confusion. Your prayer list is your battlefield, and Archangel Michael himself stands guard over every word you whisper. Assignment number 2, Encourager. The voice that refuses to let hope die. You have a phone, don't you? You have a pen, you have a voice, then you have everything you need. James 5:16 says, "Therefore encourage one another and build one another up." One text message, one phone call, one handwritten note. That's all it takes to save someone's day or their life. You've lived long enough to know what words can do. You remember the encouragement that kept you standing when you wanted to quit. Now it's your turn to be that voice for someone else. Don't underestimate the power of your presence. A widow who calls another widow and says, "I'm praying for you today," that's not small talk. That's spiritual warfare. That's you stepping into assignment. Assignment number 3, Wisdom Carrier. The scribe who writes what heaven taught you. You've learned things the hard way. You've made mistakes. You've trusted the wrong people. You've survived seasons that nearly killed you. And all of that, every scar, every lesson, every hard-won truth is meant to be passed down. Deuteronomy 6-7 says, "You shall teach them diligently to your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your house." Write it down. Start a journal. Record your voice. Leave behind a wisdom bank that your grandchildren and great-grandchildren can withdraw from long after you're gone. Don't let your lessons die with you. You may move slow, but heaven moves fast when a willing heart says yes. And here's what you need to understand. Archangel Michael doesn't guard empty vessels. He guards people on assignment. If you're still alive, you're still assigned. You're not just old. You're under guard, protected, covered, watched over by one of heaven's fiercest warriors, because the work you carry still matters. So let me ask you again, what if the years you have left are the most strategic years of your entire life? Choose one. Intercessor, encourager, wisdom carrier. Drop it in the comments right now, not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, now. Because your assignment doesn't start when you're perfect. It starts when you're willing. And in the next part, we're going to begin writing a legacy letter together, a letter that wraps your assignment into words that will outlive you. Don't go anywhere. This is where everything changes. You dragged yourself out of bed this morning. Your knees hurt, your back aches. The mirror showed you a face that's been through too many winters. You whispered one prayer, maybe it was weak, maybe it was broken, and you thought nothing happened. You made your coffee. You sat down. You figured it was just another day that heaven ignored. But let me tell you what you didn't see. The moment your feet hit that cold floor, before you even opened your mouth to pray, angels in the throne room stood at attention. Archangel Michael, warrior, defender, the one who throws demons out of heaven, he stopped what he was doing and looked down at you. Not with pity, with respect. And God himself, the Ancient of Days, the one who breathes galaxies into being, he smiled. Not a polite smile, a smile of deep, holy satisfaction, because you got up again. Every time you refuse to quit, it's like a bell ringing in heaven. One clear, undeniable note that cuts through every battle in the unseen realm. That bell doesn't just announce your survival. It announces victory. It tells every principality assigned against you that they failed again. It tells hell that you're still dangerous. And it tells heaven that the miracle they're preparing for you still has a landing place. You think you're just barely hanging on. Heaven sees you as a warrior who won't go down. Listen to me closely now. The devil doesn't attack you because you're weak. He attacks you because you're dangerous. If you were harmless, he'd leave you alone. If your prayers didn't shake anything, he wouldn't bother showing up. But the fact that he keeps coming at you with financial pressure, with loneliness, with that gnawing voice that says, "It's too late, that tells you something critical. You scare him. Your faithfulness in the quiet, in the overlooked years, in the seasons when no one was watching, that terrifies the kingdom of darkness. Because when you stay faithful, you don't just protect yourself, you shut down strategies over your children. You cut off generational curses that were planning to land on your grandchildren. You break agreements in the spirit realm that were signed before you were even born. Your endurance isn't small, it's warfare. And every day you don't quit, you're dismantling plans that hell spent decades building. Think about Job. The devil didn't go after him because he was insignificant. He went after him because Job's faithfulness was holding back chaos. One righteous man stood between Satan and total destruction. And when Job refused to curse God, when he kept believing even in the ashes, heaven didn't just restore him, heaven doubled everything. Not because Job was perfect, because Job didn't quit. You are a modern-day Job, and Archangel Michael is watching your file with the same intensity. Now here's what you need to understand. You're still inside a time-sensitive window. This isn't forever. Heaven is highly alert around your life right now. There are angels positioned at doors you haven't even approached yet. There are provisions being moved into place that require your cooperation. There are divine appointments on your calendar that only activate when you stay in position. When you quit, the miracle has nowhere to land. It's already in the air. It's already been released. But if you're not standing where heaven sent it, it passes by. Not because God changed his mind, because you moved out of alignment. You've been standing in the same place for years, praying the same prayers, believing for the same breakthrough. And you've wondered why nothing's changed. But what if the reason nothing's changed is because you're exactly where you're supposed to be? What if your assignment right now is simply to stay, not to figure it out, not to force it, just to remain faithful in the place of pressure until the fullness of time arrives? Galatians 6-9 says, "Let us not grow weary in doing good, for in due season we will reap if we do not give up." Due season. Not your season, not the season you planned, due season. The appointed time that heaven marked on the calendar before you were born. And that season is closer than you think. Michael isn't just watching you, he's positioning himself. He's preparing for the moment when that file with your name on it gets the final signature from the throne. And when that happens, everything shifts, not gradually. Suddenly, the same way the Red Sea parted, the same way the walls of Jericho fell, the same way Lazarus walked out of the tomb. You don't need to understand the timeline, you just need to stay faithful inside of it. So let me ask you something. Can you feel it, that stirring in your chest when I say these words? That's not emotion, that's confirmation. That's the Holy Spirit telling you that what I'm saying is true. You're not forgotten, you're not overlooked, you're not too old, too late, or too far gone. You are exactly on time. And the fact that you're still here, still listening, still believing, that's proof the miracle is alive. Heaven is watching you right now with the same intensity that a surgeon watches a patient in the operating room. Focused, intentional, every move calculated. And Archangel Michael is standing by with his sword drawn, not to fight you, but to fight for you. We're close to the end of this journey. But in heaven, something is just beginning. The pieces are moving, the time is shortening, and the miracle that's been assigned to your name is about to collide with the faithfulness you've been carrying in secret. Now, what happens next will determine whether you receive it or whether you let it pass by one more time. So let me leave you with this. You are not alone in this. I don't care how quiet your house is. I don't care how long it's been since someone called just to check on you. God has not stepped away from your life. He has not grown tired of your prayers. He has not moved on to someone younger, stronger, or more put together. Archangel Michael is still assigned to you. Your file is still open. And this community, every person who stayed with you through this message, we are standing with you in faith. You are not forgotten. You are not invisible. And you are not finished. Here's what I need you to remember. The miracle is already in motion. It's not waiting for you to be perfect. It's waiting for you to stay in position. Your faithfulness in the small things, in the quiet mornings, in the moments no one sees, that is what keeps the door open. Don't quit now. Don't let discouragement convince you that it's too late. Heaven is watching, Michael is ready, and God is smiling over you. Now, let me ask you this. What would change in your life if you truly believed that today was the beginning of your breakthrough? Let's pray together. Wherever you are, I want you to close your eyes, put your hand over your heart, and receive this with me. Heavenly Father, in the mighty name of Jesus Christ, I lift up every soul who has stayed with me through this message. Lord, you see them, you know their names. You know the weight they've been carrying, the tears they've cried in secret, the prayers they've whispered when hope felt thin. And today, I ask you to meet them right where they are, not where they wish they were, not where they think they should be, but right here, right now, in this very moment. Father, release your peace over their minds. Silence every voice of doubt, every whisper of fear, every lie that says it's too late. Let them feel your presence like a blanket around their shoulders. Let them know deep in their bones that you have not abandoned them. You are closer than their next breath, and the miracle they've been praying for is already on its way. I pray for open doors, divine appointments, and supernatural provision. I pray for strength in their bodies, clarity in their minds, and fire in their spirits. Let Archangel Michael go before them, clearing every obstacle, breaking every chain, and protecting every step. And Lord, let them walk into this new season with boldness, knowing that you are fighting for them. In Jesus' name, amen. Now, I need you to do something. If this message touched you, don't keep it to yourself. Comment below and tell me where you're watching from, your city, your state, so I can pray over you by name. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Someone who's been carrying the weight alone. Remind them they're not forgotten. And if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel, because this community is more than videos, it's a family, and we're walking this journey together. Thank you for being here. Thank you for staying till the end. Thank you for believing when it would have been easier to walk away. Your miracle is coming. Don't miss it.